Usually when we talk about the economy, we picture, stock tickers flashing red and green.
Right, or maybe some abstract chart tracking inflation over the last decade.
Exactly. It feels very digital, very theoretical, I guess.
Oh, completely. It's just numbers on a screen for most people.
Yeah, but then you look out your car window on your drive to work, and you see a faded for lease sign in front of a tired-looking strip mall.
Or a brand new fast food joint going up on a busy corner with, construction crews pouring concrete everywhere.
Right. And suddenly the economy isn't a chart anymore. It is concrete. It's asphalt. It is the physical economy.
Which is such a fascinating way to look at it.
It really is. And welcome to the deep dive, because today you and I are going to look right past those for sale signs.
We really are. We're unpacking a snapshot of this physical economy.
Yes, specifically looking at how big money moves through local neighborhoods, because it is everywhere.
It is. And when you stop looking at buildings merely as, places to buy a burger or get your teeth cleaned, the whole city changes.
It totally flips your perspective.
Exactly. You start looking at them as financial instruments. Every single storefront represents a calculated bet.
A massive bet. And to see how those bets are made, we are diving into a highly curated source today.
Yes, a really specific one.
Yeah, it's a commercial real estate newsletter. This one is dated July 18th, 2026. It's from the Eureka Business Group, or EBG.
They're a Dallas-Fort Worth retail investment advisory firm.
Right, and they've been operating since 2008. So the mission for us today is to decode the jargon of commercial real estate.
Which there is a lot of.
Oh, tons. We want to see what makes a property a gold mine and what makes it a massive gamble. And we're looking at all of this through the lens of EBG's hand-picked listings.
And to truly understand why EBG picked these specific listings, we have to start exactly where their newsletter starts.
The macro context, right.
Exactly. They open with this market commentary noting that, fueled by the new Federal Reserve Chair narrative, interest rates have ticked slightly lower.
Okay, so a little bit of relief.
A little bit, yeah. But they immediately advise their clients not to expect any actual rate cuts this year.
Oh, really? None at all?
Right. They say, unless something dramatic happens in the broader economy, don't hold your breath.
Wow. And they back that up with their Eureka Retail Velocity Index for the Dallas-Fort Worth market for June 2026.
Yeah, which is a really interesting metric.
It is. The index is sitting at 5.3 out of 10.0.
Yeah. And
it shows a 0.1 month-over-month drop, which they basically call a minor softening.
Yeah, just a slight cooling off.
So a 5.3 index score. I mean, is that basically a yellow traffic light for investors?
I think a yellow light captures the mood perfectly, actually. Think of interest rates as the gravity of commercial real estate.
Okay, gravity. I like that.
Right. So when rates are high, borrowing money is expensive. So that heavy gravitational pull makes it much harder for new deals to get off the ground.
That makes total sense. It just weighs everything down.
Exactly. So a 5.3 out of 10 means the market hasn't stalled out completely. Like, buyers and sellers are still transacting.
But they're cautious.
Highly cautious. Nobody is speeding through the intersection with their eyes closed. Investors become incredibly selective about what they buy.
Because they aren't just throwing cheap capital at just anything anymore.
Right. The cheap money era is paused, at least for now.
Which totally explains why EBG sent out this specific, curated list of properties. They are highlighting opportunities designed to perform even when that market velocity is cooling down.
They're looking for resilience.
Yeah. So let's look at the absolute safest looking investments on this list, because EBG categorizes their properties by price.
Right. They break it down into tiers.
Yeah. And in the under $3 million tier, there's this recurring phrase, absolute NNN.
Yes. Absolute triple net.
Absolute triple net. Okay.
The absolute triple net lease is basically the bedrock of conservative commercial real estate investing.
Really? The absolute bedrock?
Oh, yeah. It is entirely designed around risk mitigation for the owner. It's the safest play you can make.
Okay, well, let's look at the actual properties then. EBG lists a 4,242 square foot Applebee's in Palestine, Texas.
A classic staple.
Right. And it's offered at a 7.5% cap rate. It sits on a Walmart outparcel site and sees over 25,000 vehicles per day, or VPD.
That Walmart proximity is huge, by the way.
I bet. And right below it on the list, there's a slightly smaller Dairy Queen in Oklahoma City. 3,839 square feet.
Okay, so similar footprint.
Yeah, and this one is offered at a 7.0% cap rate. It's got 11 plus years remaining on the lease term, and again, 25,000 VPD.
The consistency in those traffic numbers is not an accident.
Right, but here's the thing that caught my eye. Both listings explicitly say absolute NNN, zero landlord duties.
Zero duties. That's the magic phrase.
Wait, literally zero duties. Like, if a tornado rips the roof off that Dairy Queen or the grease trap explodes and floods the kitchen at 2 a.m., I don't get a panicked phone call.
You do not get a phone call.
I literally do nothing and collect a rent check. Come on, there has to be a catch.
Well, yeah, there is a catch. The catch is that you are tying your entire financial fate to the corporate health of the tenant.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because in an absolute triple net lease, the tenant signs a contract agreeing to pay all real estate taxes, all building insurance, and all maintenance costs.
So even structural repairs, like that torn-off roof I mentioned?
Yes, even structural repairs. All of that is on top of their base rent. You, as the owner, just collect what the industry calls mailbox money.
Mailbox money. I love that term.
It sounds great, right? But if Applebee's or Dairy Queen suffers a massive corporate bankruptcy, the rent stops.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a big risk.
Exactly. You are suddenly left holding an empty building that is, architecturally designed to look exactly like a Dairy Queen.
Right, with the distinctive roof and everything.
Yeah, and you still owe your monthly mortgage payment to the bank. So the risk is entirely corporate.
Okay, well, that makes the numbers on the page way more interesting. So help me understand this cap rate thing.
Sure, capitalization rate.
Yeah, because why is the Applebee's yielding a 7.5% cap rate, but the Dairy Queen is only at 7.0%? Shouldn't an investor always want the higher percentage return?
You'd think so, but let's look at the mechanics of it. A cap rate is your net operating income. So the money the building profits after expenses divided by the purchase price of the property.
Okay, simple math.
Right. It essentially tells you your annual rate of return if you bought the building in all cash.
Got it.
So yes, a 7.5% return from the Applebee's yields more cash than 7.0% from the Dairy Queen. But in real estate, cap rate is actually a measure of risk.
Wait, really? A measure of risk?
Yeah, the higher the cap rate, the higher the perceived risk in the deal.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Because the Dairy Queen listing specifically highlights 11 plus years remaining on term.
Exactly. The math backs that up. The Dairy Queen comes with over a decade of legally guaranteed corporate rent.
That's a lot of security.
It is. So the buyer is willingly accepting a slightly lower yield, that 7.0% cap rate, in exchange for a much longer horizon of absolute security.
So they sleep better at night.
Basically, yeah. Whereas the Applebee's likely has less time left on its current lease. That increases the risk that the tenant might pack up and leave sooner.
And if they leave, you're stuck with an empty restaurant.
Right. So because the risk of vacancy is higher, the market demands a higher 7.5% return to justify an investor taking on that property.
Okay, we also need to talk about VPD, vehicles per day, because both of these sites boast 25,000 VPD.
VPD is the absolute lifeblood metric of retail real estate.
I mean, 25,000 cars a day is a lot of cars.
It's massive. A fast food restaurant doesn't survive on brand loyalty alone. It survives on frictionless convenience and impulse.
Like, oh, I'm hungry, there's a Dairy Queen.
Exactly. Having 25,000 cars drive past your illuminated sign every single day is essentially an enormous free billboard.
It's just built-in marketing.
It really is. It tells an investor that even if this specific Dairy Queen goes out of business and leaves, this dirt holds intrinsic value.
Because the traffic pattern is already established.
Yes, the car is already there.
Okay, so absolute NNN is the safe play. It's the set it and forget it portfolio. But not every investor wants to just wait by the mailbox.
No, definitely not. Some people want to be more hands-on.
Right, and EBG's list also has properties that require rolling up your sleeves.
Because some investors actively seek out friction, because friction is where the profit margin lives.
Okay, I love that. So I'm looking at two specific EBG listings that stand out drastically from those, pristine, fully leased fast food joints.
A value-add stuff.
Yeah. First, there's a 16,420 square foot retail center in Little Elm, Texas. And the listing explicitly calls it value add because it is only 64.7% leased.
So it's basically a third empty.
Exactly. Then there's a 9,469 square foot Osaka Sushi and Grill in Addison.
Oh, right on Restaurant Row.
Yep, Restaurant Row. It's offered at a 6.5% cap rate with a long-term NNN lease. But the kicker is in bold text.
What does it say?
It says, space to build additional building on the lot. Exclamation point and everything. Let me just stop there. To anyone driving down the street, a shopping center that is 35% empty looks like a failing business.
It looks dead, yeah.
Right. Is value add just commercial real estate spin for a struggling property?
Honestly, it highlights a fundamental difference between how the general public and a savvy investor view the built environment.
Oh, so.
Well, to the general public, a half-empty strip mall is depressing. But to a value-add investor, a fully leased, perfectly running building is actually boring.
Boring, because there's nothing to fix.
Right. It has no upside.
Oh.
You see, commercial real estate isn't valued like residential real estate. Your house is valued based on what the house next door sold for.
Yeah, and the comps.
Exactly. But a commercial building is valued based on a multiple of the income it generates.
Oh. So if the building makes more money, the building itself is instantly worth more money?
Instantly. So that Little Elm property is only 64.7% leased, sure. But the listing tells us Little Elm is a growing community.
Right.
And the property sits on El Dorado Parkway, which boasts over 43,000 vehicles per day.
That is a ton of traffic passing an empty building.
Exactly. An aggressive investor looks at that and sees a massive disconnect. The traffic is there, the town is growing, but the current landlord hasn't been able to fill the spaces.
Maybe they're just a bad landlord, or out of state or something.
Could be anything. So the investor buys that property at a discount because of the high vacancy. Then they use their own capital, or an advisory firm like EBG, to aggressively market and find new tenants for that empty 35%.
And as soon as they sign those leases.
The moment those new leases are signed, the net operating income of the property shoots up. And they have artificially forced the overall value of the property to skyrocket.
Wow. So they buy it based on what it's doing now, and they sell it or refinance it based on what they've forced it to do.
Precisely. You force the appreciation. And the Addison Sushi restaurant represents a different flavor of that exact same strategy.
How so? Because that one is fully leased, right?
It is. The sushi restaurant pays the mortgage. You get a stable 6.5% return from day one. But the true play is the land itself.
The space for the extra building.
Exactly. That space is a blank canvas. You have a stable asset funding your ability to develop the empty lot next door.
Oh, that's smart.
It is. Once you build a new structure and lease it out, you've potentially doubled the income profile of the exact same parcel of land.
Okay, that totally explains why EBG includes listings for pure raw land.
Yeah, they have a few of those on here.
They do.
Yeah.
There is a 2.2-acre plot in Mesquite with flexible zoning that allows for mixed use, retail, and multifamily. It even offers seller financing.
That's a developer's dream.
Right. And there's a roughly 2.7-acre plot in Balch Springs that EDG notes is near a staggering 150,000 plus VPB.
150,000, that's highway traffic.
It's insane. Someone is going to buy that dirt, look at the 150,000 cars driving by every day, and build the next gold mine from scratch.
It really just requires looking at a vacant field and seeing the potential energy rather than just the current reality.
Okay, so we've looked at the single tenants, we've looked at the fixer-uppers and the raw dirt. Let's move up the ladder.
Let's talk about the big money.
Yeah. EBG categorizes their heaviest hitters in the $3 million to $7 million range and then the $7 million plus tier.
The institutional grade stuff.
Right. How do you protect a multi-million-dollar investment in a market with a cooling 5.3 velocity index?
Well, at that level of capital, you start looking for institutional level ecosystems. You want properties that are insulated by massive corporate neighbors.
Okay, let's pull out the specifics. In the 3 to 7 million range, there's a 7,380 square foot retail center in Rowlett.
Nice area.
Yeah, and it has Five Guys and an AFC Urgent Care. It is 100% leased, absolute NNN, with corporate guarantees, and it's sitting on a highway with nearly 41,000 VPD.
Solid numbers.
But the crucial detail is that EBG explicitly notes it is shadow anchored by Target.
Shadow anchored. That is a great term.
And dropping down to the 7 million plus tier, there's an 11,630 square foot center in Allen, 100% leased, featuring an ideal dental and a bread zeppelin.
Okay, decent tenant mix.
Right, and 44,000 VPD on Custer Road. But again, EBG makes a point to say adjacent to new HEB.
There it is again.
Yeah. And in that same top tier, we have a massive 28,000 plus square foot center in Plano. It's anchored by a Crash Champions located in the highly affluent Willow Bend submarket.
That's prime real estate.
At Prime, sitting at the intersection of Coit Road and West Plano Parkway, which bring in 43,000 and 35,000 VPD respectively.
So massive traffic.
Massive. But why does EBG explicitly mention Target and HEB when those multi-million-dollar grocery stores aren't even the buildings up for sale?
Because the psychology and economics of commercial real estate are brilliant here. You don't have to own the HEB to profit immensely from the HEB.
Okay, explain that.
Think of Target or HEB as a massive economic sun, and your smaller retail center is just a planet caught in its orbit.
Oh, I like that. They generate the gravity and you just ride the orbit.
Exactly. These corporations, we call them category killers, they spend tens of millions of dollars in corporate research.
Right, to figure out exactly where to build.
Yes. They analyze where the population is migrating, where the median household income is rising, and where complex traffic patterns converge.
They do all the heavy lifting.
They do. So when they finally drop a massive store on a corner, they create a commercial ecosystem. They are the engine generating those 40,000 plus vehicles per day.
So shadow anchoring means your property basically sits in the slipstream of their multi-million-dollar research and traffic generation.
Stud on. Your retail center might just house a Five Guys in an urgent care clinic. But you are feeding off the daily, mandatory routines of the thousands of people who have to go to Target for groceries every week.
It's guaranteed foot traffic.
Right. As an investor buying that rallied property, you aren't just hoping people crave a burger. You are relying on the sheer gravitational pull of Target to ensure that specific intersection remains economically viable for the next 30 years.
Speaking of 30 years, that actually brings up another wild listing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in the 3 to 7 million range, there is an 11,704 square foot single-tenant retail property in Round Rock.
Okay. What is it?
It's a Caliber collision auto body shop. It boasts about 18,000 VPD. But look at the lease terms. EBG notes it has a 25-plus year continuous tenancy at the site.
So they've been there forever.
Forever. And the current tenant has 3 7-year options that can extend the term all the way to the year 2051. 2051. That just blows my mind. 2051.
Well, residential real estate operates on the timeline of a family, right? Maybe 5 to 10 years before they outgrow a house or relocate for a job.
Yeah, usually.
But commercial real estate operates on generational timelines.
I mean, someone is signing a legally binding document to fix cars on that exact piece of dirt a quarter of a century from now.
And the due diligence required for a timeline like that is intense. When you buy a lease that stretches to 2051, you aren't just underwriting Caliber Collision's current balance sheet.
You're underwriting the future.
You are. You are underwriting the long-term macro demographics of Round Rock, Texas. You are placing a bet on the long-term viability of the internal combustion engine versus electric vehicles, which, have fewer moving parts.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
Right. You are factoring in whether autonomous driving might drastically reduce fender benders over the next 2 decades.
Because if cars drive themselves, they don't crash, and you don't need a body shop.
Exactly. It is a massive, long-term economic thesis disguised as a simple real estate transaction.
That is wild. But what if an investor doesn't want passive generational mailbox money at all?
What do you mean?
What if they want to physically occupy the space they buy? EBG's list includes a property that flips this whole dynamic on its head.
Oh, the flex space.
Yeah. Amidst all these restaurants and retail centers, there is one glaring non-retail outlier in the 3 to 7 million tier. It's a 16,800 square foot industrial and flex space in Roanoke.
Oh, right. Outside the city limits.
Exactly. Both units have fully built-out air-conditioned offices, and the listing explicitly notes that it has short-term leases which offer a, quote, value-add or owner-user opportunity.
Which is very different from the Caliber Collision.
Totally different. And they also mention an outside fenced storage area used by the current owner that can be leased out. So in a list dominated by 25-year retail leases, why highlight a warehouse with short-term leases?
It goes right back to EBG's opening commentary about asset flexibility. Everything we've discussed so far, from the 2051 Caliber Collision lease to the Oklahoma City Dairy Queen, has been about locking in long-term passive income.
Just collecting checks.
Right. But the Roanoke property appeals to a completely different buyer persona, the owner-user.
Meaning a business owner who wants to run their own company out of the real estate they own?
Yes. Maybe it's a commercial roofing company or a regional plumbing logistics firm. They want the air-conditioned offices for their sales team and the massive warehouse space for their trucks and beer.
So they aren't looking for a tenant.
No, in this scenario, the fact that the building has short-term leases is pitched as a massive benefit.
Oh, because they can kick him out?
Well, yeah. It means the new owner can easily choose not to renew the current tenants and move their own operations into the space quickly.
Or I guess they can keep one tenant in half the building to help pay the mortgage while using the rest of the space for themselves.
Exactly. In a 5.3 velocity market, smart advisory firms curate diverse options for diverse pools of capital.
That brings up a huge question about the capital itself, actually.
Yeah.
Because to afford a $7 million retail center in Allen or a 28,000 square foot center in Plainer, investors usually aren't just, transferring cash from their checking account.
No, definitely not.
They're moving massive amounts of equity around the board, and at the very bottom of the EBG newsletter, below all the property listings, there is a prominent banner.
The 1031 exchange calculator.
Yes, it's a 1031 exchange timeline calculator, and it boldly states, "Don't miss critical deadlines." The newsletter also mentions that EBG's work frequently centers on 1031-driven replacement needs.
It's a huge part of the industry.
But we just established this is a slow generational game reaching all the way to 2051. Why is there a ticking clock calculator for buying real estate?
Because the 1031 exchange is the high-pressure engine that drives a significant portion of commercial transactions.
Okay, how does it work?
Well, based on EBG's text emphasizing replacement needs and critical deadlines, we can look at the underlying mechanics of this tax code. A 1031 exchange allows a real estate investor who just sold a property to completely defer paying capital gains taxes on their profit.
Wait, completely defer the taxes?
Completely. But only if they reinvest that money into a new replacement property.
So let me get this straight. You sell a building, you make a massive profit, and the IRS is waiting for a huge cut unless you immediately buy another building.
That's the gist of it.
Why does the government allow that? That seems like a crazy loophole.
Well, the government allows this massive tax loophole because they want to incentivize continuous investment in the physical economy.
Oh, I see.
They want capital velocity. They want cranes in the sky, concrete being poured, and local tradespeople getting hired.
And if they tax it, everything stops.
Right. If investors had to pay massive taxes every time they sold a building, they would just hold on to their properties forever or hoard the cash in a bank vault.
Which slows down the whole economy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The 1031 exchange keeps the money moving through the economy. But, and here's the catch, however, the government doesn't give you unlimited time to find that new building.
Ah, so that's where the timeline calculator comes in. It implies there are strict, unforgiving deadlines.
Brutal deadlines. Imagine you just sold a $5 million apartment complex. You have a massive tax liability hanging over your head and a rapidly shrinking window of time to identify and close on a new property.
And if you miss it?
If you miss the deadline by a single day, you owe the taxes.
Oh, wow. So there's a real panic there.
Huge panic. You don't have time to slowly scour the entire state of Texas for the perfect deal.
Which explains why a firm like EBG exists.
Yes, exactly.
And why this specific newsletter is so valuable. EBG is curating these ready-to-go vetted listings like the Shadow-Anchored Center or the N Applebee's specifically for buyers who are sweating under the pressure of a 1031 exchange deadline.
They need to deploy millions of dollars quickly and intelligently.
It's like finding a safe harbor in a hurricane. They provide the options right when the investor is most desperate for a sound choice.
That is a perfect way to put it.
Let's take a breath and recap this incredible journey we've been on for you today.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We really have. We started by looking at the macro impact of the Federal Reserve, with interest rates acting as the gravity on the DFW market.
And then we explored the mailbox money of absolute triple net leases where the tenant carries the maintenance burden.
Right, and then we uncovered the sweat equity required to force appreciation in value-add properties and the hidden potential energy in raw dirt.
Not to mention the strategic brilliance of shadow anchoring off a massive economic sun like Target or HEB.
Yeah, that was fascinating. And finally, we explored the intense ticking clock pressure of the 1031 exchange that keeps all this capital moving.
And if there's one central theme to take away from this snapshot of the physical economy, it's summarized beautifully in a piece of EBG's own philosophy included in the newsletter.
What's the quote?
They write, "Not every opportunity is the right opportunity. Work with an advisor who knows the difference."
That's really well said.
Because exposure, market timing, and pricing all matter deeply. Real estate isn't just about buying bricks. It's about matching the right financial instrument to the right investor at the exact right moment in their economic cycle.
It really is an invisible game playing out right in front of us every single day.
It is.
I want to leave you with a lingering thought. Think back to that Caliber collision lease in Round Rock, stretching all the way to the year 2051.
It's still hard to wrap your head around.
It is. In a world completely obsessed with next month's smartphone update or tomorrow's fleeting viral trend, there are investors quietly, confidently betting millions of dollars on exactly where cars will be driving and where people will be eating decades from now.
Generational bets.
Yeah. When you drive past a strip mall tomorrow, ask yourself, who is betting on your daily routine?